you would expect, first thing this morning, the gubernatorial candidates themselves voted. Republican Ed Gillespie and Democrat Ralph Northam headed to the polls.
Gillespie voted in Northern Virginia, while Northam voted in Norfolk, and in a short while, both candidates will wait for the results to come in. Some voters found something that surprised them at the polls today, that being paper ballots.
Norfolk switched over to a new system for this election. Ernie LeBeau went to find out why.
Right, paper ballots were actually being used in many other cities, but this past September, the State Board of Elections approved the move to require this across the board for security reasons. But this morning, this move caught some voters by surprise. Voters in Norfolk were welcomed to the polls by something a little different.
I have never seen this paper ballot.
Previously, they used touch screens to cast their votes, but in an attempt to prevent hacking, recently the Virginia Department of Elections required all locations using those machines to switch over to paper ballots. Those paper ballots would then be scanned and counted.
Please color in the box of your selection completely. Do not use tick marks, checks, or X's.
A 13 News Now saw this volunteer giving specific instructions about how to fill out the ballot. But for some, this change was still a little confusing.
I don't understand why there wasn't some education for voters if you're going to have a paper ballot.
I spoke to Sharon on the phone after she cast her ballot but then headed out of town. She quickly realized something was wrong.
So I went through and I just checked the boxes. I got with my friend that I'm traveling with. She said, well, you know, it said at the top you had to fill in the entire box. And I said, oh, my goodness.
So I reached out to Norfolk's registrar office to see if Sharon's vote and others who didn't completely fill in the box would still count. Stephanie Isles says the scanner is programmed to pick up marks in the box. And the counter will read if the box is completely filled in, marked with a check mark, or marked with an X in order to be properly counted. Now, including the city of Norfolk, there were 21 other locations in Virginia that had to switch over to the paper ballots. Reporting, I'm Ernie LeBeau, 13 News Now.